On this day in history, December 6th, 1240, the Mongol invasion of Rus begins, where Kyiv, defended by the Voivode Dmytro, falls to the Mongols under Batu Khan. Included in the following is an excerpt from the 1944 edition of the Encyclopedia Britannica, going over the history of the city. At what precise date a settlement first existed is unknown, but archaeology indicates that the plains of the Dnieper were inhabited by Paleolithic times, and burial mounds, kurgans, of subsequent populations are present in abundance. According to Nestor's legend, Kyiv was founded in 864 by three brothers, Kai, Shek, and Koriv, and after their death was seized by two Varangians, Scandinavians, Askold and Dyr, followers of Rorik, also in 864. But the ancient trading link along the Dnieper is far older than this, and the Kyiv, which they captured, was already sufficiently mature to be paying tribute to the Khazars. The princes of Kyiv became the organizers and defenders of the flotilla of small craft that sailed each June down the Dnieper to the Black Sea and Tsarograd, Byzantium, and through the Sea of Azov, the Don and the Volga made contacts with Eastern Islam. It was mainly a barter trade, Byzantine silks, stuffs, gold, wine, and fruit in exchange for Russian furs, honey, wax, corn, and slaves, and few Byzantine coins reached Russia, though colonial Roman coins of the 3rd and 4th centuries and silver dirhams stamped at Samarkand, Balkh, Merv, etc. were found in 1869. By 880, Kyiv had become the capital of the Varangian Russian Principality. From Kyiv, two marauding expeditions against Byzantium were made in the 9th and 10th centuries until, in 988, Prince Vladimir was baptized in the Dnieper and thus made Kyiv the first home of the Greek Church in Russia. The link with the Byzantine East survived the fall of Kyiv. The decision of Vladimir and his council to reject Islam and Western Christianity and accept the Eastern Greek or Orthodox faith had momentous consequences quite apart from its cultural importance. Its political implications are written in the union of the Orthodox Russian states under Moscow, in the deep cleavage between the Poles and the Russians, and in the determination to free the country from the Musulman yoke. Under the Kiev princes Oleg, Svyatoslav, Saint Vladimir, and Yaroslav the lawgiver, the Principality of Kiev developed and the city became the center of a wealthy court, and the beauty and number of its churches was great, though the 400 churches and 8 markets reported by Theitmar of Mersburg is probably an exaggeration. The learning of its princes and the beautiful workmanship of the frescoes and mosaics, the gold and silver ornaments, and the illuminated manuscripts bear witness to the culture of the ancient city. But civil strife among the Slav princes broke out, and in 1169 Kiev was captured by Andrei Bogolyubsky and never recovered its supremacy. In 1240 the Tartars under Batu, a grandnephew of Chengiz Khan, sacked Kiev, and 5 years later, when Karpini passed through the mother of Russian cities, nothing remained but ruins and a few houses and survivors. From 1240 to 1320, it remained under Tartar rule and passed to Lithuania until 1569, during which period it was laid in ruins by the Khan of Crimea in 1483. It was under Polish rule until 1654 and was finally incorporated in Russia in 1686. Thus, the proximity to Western trade and to the rich steppe region, which at first led to its rise and to its exposure to devastation from the nomad conquerors of the steppe. In 1499, Kiev obtained the Magdeburg Right, which secured to it self-government, its own court of law, coinage, and free trade. The Ukrainian fraternities, which developed on religious grounds, the struggle against Polish rule, had their center in Kiev. From 1667, Kiev was governed by a hetman, or elected city ruler. The hetman Mazepa restored the old churches in the 18th century and built new ones. But from the time of Peter the Great, a policy of Russification of the Ukraine was organized from Kiev, and the fortress of Pechersk, around which a great Russian population was settled, was erected. In 1797, the contract fare was removed from Dubno to Kiev, and thus stimulated its trade, while in the early 19th century the development of agriculture and the growing of sugar beet in the Ukraine developed sugar refining in the town. An industrial proletariat developed, and side by side with it, there grew the young Ukrainian national movement. In 1905, the workers joined the revolutionary movement and the garrison rebelled, but the revolt was mercilessly suppressed and followed by a terrible Jewish pogrom which lasted for 3 days. Following these tragedies, the Ukrainian national movement took a more decisive character, but was checked by the outbreak of war in 1914. After the February 1917 revolution, a Central Rada was formed, which aimed at separating the Ukraine from Russia. At the same time, the Kyiv Soviet was formed under Bolshevik leadership, and civil war broke out between the two parties. After the October 1917 revolution, the Rada proclaimed the Ukrainian Democratic Republic with Kyiv as its capital. In January 1918, the Red Army captured the town and proclaimed a Soviet republic, but retreated before the German troops called in by the Rada. Friction between the German troops and the Rada brought about the downfall of the latter and the appointment of General Skoropadsky as hetman. After the revolution in Germany and the consequent withdrawal of German troops in 1918, Petlura replaced General Skoropadsky, and in 1919 the Soviet troops again captured the city. They retreated in August 1919 on the advance of Denikin's army. Conflicts then raged between the troops of Petlura and those of Denikin, and after fierce street fighting, Denikin obtained the mastery. Soviet troops again captured the city in December 1919, but in May 1920, the Poles, aided by Petlura, retook the city. They were driven out in the following month, and peace at last settled on the exhausted city, only to be followed by famine and disease. During the fighting and bombardment, much of the city was burned or destroyed, and many works of art irrevocably lost, especially those of the Perchesky district. Though repairs have been carried out since 1920, and the bridge, blown up by the Poles on their retreat, has been restored, many heaps of ruins still recall the terrible time, as do the graves of the victims and the name of the street, Victims of the Revolution. In view of the unsettled conditions in Kyiv, Kharkov was made the capital of the Soviet Ukrainian Republic.